check out the answers to the share and show problems. First one, you have a basic parallelogram. On your paper, you should have written down the formula. Always start by writing down the formula A equals BH. Then substitute your values, 12 for the B, 7 for the H. You end up getting 84. Then your final answer would be 84 feet squared, because we're talking about area. Now you're lucky enough they have the feet squared already there, so you didn't really necessarily have to remember to write it, but you need to have that label. Next up is a square. We know it's a square because we can see that these sides are equal and opposite sides of a square are also equal, so we know all four sides are equal. And then the other mark of a square is that it has four 90-degree or right angles. So the formula for a square is side squared, or side times side. So if you have a calculator with this capability, you could do 2.5 and then square it. If you don't have a calculator with this capability, or a calculator at all, you can simply do 2.5 times 2.5. That's what squaring means. You end up getting 6.25, and 6.25 millimeters squared is your answer. Yes, it's the same as 6 1/4, but since we're using decimals, try to use decimals here in your answer. Next up, we have a parallelogram, and it has fractions. So nothing is really different here. You have A equals base times height. Your base is 3/4. Your height is 2/3. If you have a calculator with this functionality with fractions, you can use a calculator. If not, just multiply these how we learned. It's pretty simple. You could actually do some simplifying, like cross-simplifying before you multiply. Either way, you end up getting 1/2. So your answer should be 1/2 feet squared. So even on your calculator, you might have gotten like 0.5 or something. We want to keep it as 1/2. Yes, 0.5 and 1/2 are the same, but we're using fractions here, so we want to keep the same format for our answer. 1/2 feet squared. This one, we know the area, 11 yards squared. How do we know it's the area? Because it literally says area equals. And also look at the units. It's square units. That always tells you that we're talking about an area. We're missing our height, represented by this dotted line that makes a perpendicular intersection with this base. And we have the base, which is 5.5. So first thing, write down your formula. Next, substitute your values. This time 11 goes in where the A was. 5.5 goes in where the B was. And H, we don't know what H is, so we'll just leave it as H. We know that when a coefficient is next to a variable, it means multiplication. So this is showing that multiplication is happening. How we solve H is to do the inverse operation. So we're going to place a line here and a line here, and that shows division. So we're going to do 5.5 divided by 5.5. They just end up canceling each other out. You're left with just one H, which you write as just H. And then you do 11 divided by 5.5. So you could do this by doing the reciprocal, which you know how to do. Or if you have a calculator, you could do 11 divided by 5.5, which would be the same as 5.5. So you don't necessarily need that calculator that uses fractions. You could substitute the 5.5 in for 5.5. You end up getting 2. One way or the other, you should get 2. And your answer should just be 2 yards, because remember, you're talking about a height, which is just a measurement between 2 points. It's a straight line. So it's not yards squared, it's yards. The dimensions of the parallelogram, the base and the height, are always just regular units. Here's another one similar, where you have the area, 36 yards squared. You have the base, you have a missing height. So once again, we'll substitute the things we know to find the thing that we don't know. We got a 36 in for A, we have a 4 in for the B, and the H is the thing we're looking for, so leave it as H. To figure out what H equals, we will do the inverse operation. So we divide by 4, divide by 4. We balanced our equation just like we did in chapter 8. We're left with 9 equals H, which is the same as H equals 9. Now we just have to give it a label, which is 9 yards. So please get in the habit of showing this work. There will be no way of me like having you type in this work or knowing that you're actually doing it, but you should be doing this. Remember, it's an expectation they will have in 7th grade, so you might as well get used to it.